Hey, it's Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings got blown out by the Rockets last night, 127-101. Their 7-game home winning streak is over. James Harden had 36 points for his 28th consecutive game with 30-plus. Buddy Hield led the way for the Kings. He had a team-high 20 points and 10 rebounds. Sacramento's off today before hosting Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat tomorrow. The Kings were also active ahead of the NBA trade deadline, which hits at noon today. They made a couple of deals, one sending Iman Shumpert to Houston as part of a 3-team deal with the Cavs. Sacramento acquired shooting guard Alec Burks from Cleveland in that one. Later on in the evening, the Kings sent Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph to Dallas in exchange for forward Harrison Barnes. We'll have breakdowns of those trades and any others throughout the day right here on Sports 1140. It's 7:01. Time to get that perfect Valentine's Day gift at Sharif Jewelers. Spend $99 or more and receive a pearl bracelet only at Sharif Jewelers. Those are your top stories. Now time for the second hour of the drive on Sports 1140 KSGK.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Jack Cooley is going to check in all the way from Italy in about a half an hour. That'll be kind of cool. We were going to talk to him yesterday. Coach Yeager was nice enough to surprise us. Little did we know when we were talking to Coach Yeager what was going to be coming up in just a few hours later. Sam Amick on the trade deadline. Sam Amick's going to join us from The Athletic at 8:05 for as long as he can. I talked to him yesterday. I said, if something breaks, just patch us in 3-way calls with all the GMs. Let us listen in. I don't think he's going to do that. Mark Followill, the play-by-play voice of the Dallas Mavericks, will talk to us about Harrison Barnes at 8:35. And we'll go to your phone calls right now on the Firewings hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. Derek, you're on the drive. Good morning, Derek.
Yeah, good morning, guys. So, I was bummed to see the game last night, but it made me smile to see that this is the clearest sign that you're ever going to see a strength of a locker room, right? That when these guys got heart, they showed it. And you want them to have heart because you got to be able to feel to have teamwork. And to put it bluntly, that expression is the exact opposite of what is going on at the Lakers locker room right now. And so I just hope that that the team, especially like Vlade and all these veterans, can go to these guys and tell them why, which is that we are doubling down on you. We are investing in you right now to win now. I mean, if we hadn't had the hot start this summer at the beginning of the year, this never would have happened. So I think they're going to get over it, but I'm happy to see that obviously they have these relationships and it is a strong locker room.
Well, and I think it's a good point that you make. And I think something I want to say to Kings fans, make no mistake about it. While this is certainly a play on the future, this is also a move that the Kings are making for this year. Now, I don't know if the Clippers traded Tobias Harris yesterday informed yesterday's trade by the Kings, but I think it probably did. I know that Harrison Barnes had been a player that had been broached by the Kings, both by the Mavericks and the Kings out here since last year. The original. This is not something new that was just thought of. And I think what the Kings looked at is, okay, we have an opportunity to get our power forward of the future. Harrison Barnes is 26 years old. He's, 3 years? Just 3 years older than Justin Jackson, for example. It's not like Harrison Barnes is an old, grizzled veteran.
Right, he's 26 and he's in his 7th year in the league.
Right, out of North Carolina. This is a guy who has a player option this summer for $25 million. There's no doubt. He's definitely making a little bit of cash, but according to Adrian Wojnarowski, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, this is a situation where the Kings may want him to opt out this summer. They'll spend the next 2-3 months playing with him, showing him Sacramento, taking a look at him. I know. And then
It's like, what do you like? Board games?
Board games, backgammon, Parcheesi. And then maybe this summer, we look at him opting out and signing a long-term deal with the Kings, whether that's 4 years, 3 years, et cetera. They're looking at Their answer at small forward.
And I really do think you can't take his time in Dallas, at least the first 2 years, as an indicator of the type of player that he's going to be for the Kings, because Dallas signed into a max deal expecting that he was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And this year his numbers all saw a significant uptick when they had DeAndre Jordan and they had Luka Doncic. You saw his numbers start to climb as he started having to handle the ball less and do less on offense. And I think the Kings are going to let him sit out on the wing and shoot threes and play good defense, and that's really where he's at his best.
19 points, a little over 6 boards, just under 40% shooting from behind the arc. I mean, those are decent numbers. And not to be forgotten, I understand Harrison Barnes is the guy, but not to be forgotten, Alec Burks, just to give you a little background on him, Alec Burks comes over in a separate trade, Ramon Shumpert. Alec Burks, I believe it was his last game, is back on February 5th, so just 2 days ago. He was starting for the Cavaliers, who are the worst team in the NBA, along with Phoenix. 37 minutes, had 21 points, 4 boards, a couple assists, a couple of steals. Now, this is a guy who's 27 years old and is going to give this is not a flashy acquisition, but it's a situation where that gives Vlade a little bit more backcourt depth. And again, we addressed this early in the show, and we'll address this a couple times because not everybody can listen for 3 hours. If you look at Vlade's trades, at least the last few major ones, you had the DeMarcus Cousins deal. You had the George Hill deal. You've got the Iman Shumpert and now Justin Jackson deal. And people are asking, and I understand the question, why couldn't you have just traded for Harrison Barnes? Iman meant so much to the locker room. Why couldn't you have just done the Harrison Barnes thing? You basically traded Iman Shumpert for, they didn't really gain that much. They gained a shooting guard version of Iman Shumpert. Why not just keep him and do the Barnes deal? This is exactly what I think Vlade did. I think Vlade has a history where he tries. He was an ex-player. He understands what everyone's going through. Vlade has a history of taking players who were good citizens, who help the team, who he wants to help out, and he trades them to better situations or good situations. He did that with George Hill. George Hill went to Cleveland, got to play in the NBA Finals. You know, the DeMarcus Cousins thing was a lot more complicated, but remember, Cousins went to New Orleans, and had he not gone down the following year, would have played in his first playoff game. He takes Iman Shumpert. I think Vlade knows Harrison Barnes is coming to Sacramento when he makes that deal. And I think he makes that deal thinking Shumpert's a proud veteran. He's in a contract year. If we bring Harrison Barnes in here, Shumpert's going to the bench, and he's going to be coming off the bench trying to get his minutes and spots. Now, that's not to say Shumpert's necessarily going to start for the Rockets, but the Rockets are a finals contender. The
and
Kings
they need
are not.
somebody who can play a little defense.
They absolutely do. Shumpert's going to get his minutes in Houston. I think Vlade looked at it and said, "You've been a great guy. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to do you a solid." And this is very important to understand. That resonates throughout the league when you're a franchise that takes care of your players both when they're with you and when you ship them out. That resonates with agents. That resonates with other players looking to Sacramento as a prospective place to play. And I don't know if this isn't anything, but if you want to feel a little bit better about both Shumpert and Justin Jackson, by trading them yesterday, here's something a lot of people also don't realize. They both got significant raises. They both are going to make a lot more money this year, a higher class of paycheck, because they're going to Texas. They're going to Texas. There's no state tax.
No state income tax.
No state income tax. That's a little bonus right there. And Justin Jackson is going to have a true opportunity in Dallas.
Right.
He's going to have a great opportunity in Dallas. He'll be playing with Luka Doncic, and next year he'll be playing with Kristaps Porzingis, you would imagine.
Yeah, they gotta like the Kings. They have less of a good young core than the Kings, but now Justin Jackson gets more of a chance to be a part of it.
Somebody asked me yesterday if I'd
role player.
Somebody asked me yesterday if I'd rather have Doncic and Porzingis healthy or Fox and Bagley. I just kind of passed on that question. It's a tough question. If everyone's healthy? I mean, it's probably not that tough of a question, but it's a tough question to answer. Hello, Andrew. Welcome into the drive.
Hey, thank you for having me on and listening to you guys every morning.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening.
Shump, Zebo, and Justin Jackson were phenomenal for our city. So I appreciate everything they did. But for the trade-wise, I think obviously we got better at a position that we needed to and potential long-term fix for the small forward. But another trade I would like to see is going out to get either DeAndre Jordan, which I know would be difficult now, or I think it's Vucevic from Orlando.
To
help stretch the floor.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and thank you for that call. Number one, we haven't even mentioned it all day. We should tip our caps, the old little kid with the respect to Derek Jeter gif we see online to Zach Randolph. We haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah.
Zach Randolph was nothing but a professional here. He didn't play a single minute this year, yet was there for the guys, didn't make any noise. Yeah, I understand he's getting paid $13 million to do that. Still, you see all the time people making noise in those situations.
And played his ass off last year on a bad team.
Right. And he was nothing but good for these guys. So those are some significant veteran presences gone with Shumpert, with Zach Randolph. But remember, last year they also said goodbye to Vince Carter, and I think I'm forgetting one other major veteran that they said bye-bye to over the summer, and they got even better. One thing I don't doubt with Vlade Divac, one thing that he has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt he's very adept at as a general manager is understanding chemistry of a ball club.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important to him. And I believe it informed the draft pick. We're not going down the Bagley-Luka road, but one thing I think that helped him make the decision to pick Marvin Bagley is when you saw Bagley and Fox and Giles hanging out when Marvin did his visit to Sacramento. I think that's important to Vlade Divac. Whether you agree with it or not, I think it's important to him. I don't doubt him when it comes to understanding the locker room and acquiring players that he thinks will fit in and will add to the chemistry.
Yep.
And I think that's what he's did. We got a break here in a second. Let's get to Mitch in New Jersey. Good morning, Mitch.
What's happening, guys? Thanks for taking my call. Good trade. Like the small forward. He could be a superstar. Hope he keep. You have him long term, I believe. Berks, this is 13. Like Utah, they get rid of these guys. I think there's a reason. So I don't know if that's much better, but we can have a big front court, and then you got Hyde and De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
But one thing, do you think they got one more trade? Do you think maybe they could trade for a DeAndre Jordan with the Knicks? I think they want to cut him or buy him out. Would they pick him up?
I think, thank you for the call, Mitch. They do have a good young core with Barnes and Hyde and Fox. Thank you for the call. We'll get into that. It's four-quarter territory next, not four-down territory. We'll make it King-centric. Let me put it like this. I believe the Sacramento Kings want DeAndre Jordan. They can get DeAndre Jordan today. I don't think that's even a question.
You may not even have to trade for him. You may be able to get him on a buyout.
Very easily get DeAndre Jordan. We'll talk about Nikola Vucevic here as well, who I believe will be their number one target in the offseason as well. The drive continues. We'll have four-quarter territory next. Sports 1140 KHDK. Four down territory, brought to you by Fire Wings. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com, just wing it. Not four down territory today. We switched it up. It'll be four-quarter territory, basketball, and mostly Kings-centric. Remember, 3 for Madness starts next week as football season is over. Kyle Madsen at the Kevin Mastodon Sports Desk. First quarter.
Are the Kings a better team today than they were yesterday?
Yeah, they are. They are. You can't quantify chemistry. You can't quantify locker room presence. And how could we forget? I was searching for the second veteran after losing Vince Carter last year, Garrett Temple, our good friend, and so important.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I blame you.
That you forgot that. I remembered.
Garrett Temple, his influence still, along with Vince Carter, still rings in that locker room. And, what Vlade has done is it's almost like he's brought these vets in to impart their knowledge on the team, and then they go. And guys like De'Aaron Fox, guys like Harry Giles have gotten to learn from Garrett Temple, have gotten to learn from Vince Carter, have gotten to learn from Iman Shumpert, have gotten to learn from Zach Randolph. They did their jobs, then they moved on, And I think in Vlade's mind, that's going to make these young kids better in the long run from the lessons they learned.
And you can just tell De'Aaron Fox is kind of a natural leader.
Mm-hmm.
And as he develops, the need for these veterans to come in and quote-unquote teach will start to go away. And I think Vlade knows that these guys can move forward without having a 12 or 13 or 14-year veteran sitting at the end of the bench.
When De'Aaron Fox, 8 years from now, when people are talking about him as a future Hall of Famer, when he's on SportsCenter with Rachel Nichols doing his Sunday night conversation, celebrating his second ring, and they talk to him about how he started out in vets.
So it goes from 1 ring in the next 5 to 2 in the next 8.
Oh, easily.
Duly noted.
And Rachel's asking De'Aaron about some of the new young kids the Kings have, and De'Aaron's going to say, back when I was a young pup, I got to learn from Vince Carter, from Garrett Temple, from Zach Randolph, from Iman Shumpert, and he's going to pass that on. That's just how it works in the NBA. So, there
Definitely.
you go. Second quarter.
Second quarter.
Second down.
I nail it.
Nail it.
Can Harrison Barnes be the future?
Can't hear you.
Can Harrison Barnes be the future at the 3?
I think so, but I'm not ready. Listen, I'm excited they have Harrison Barnes. That's an upgrade at the 3. I'm personally not the GM, but I'm not ready to commit to him long term yet. Need to see how he fits in. Harrison Barnes has some downsides to him as well. I personally would have rather seen Otto Porter on the team. I still stick to that. I think especially defensively, but that wasn't in the cards. Washington wanted too much. The Kings kicked the tires on him, and they pivoted to Harrison Barnes.
I think you are going to be pleasantly surprised with Harrison Barnes defensively.
I hope so.
Just physically gifted, very smart dude. They called him the Senator. And now he's coming to the state capital
Why'd
of California.
they call him the Senator?
Because he's like into politics.
Oh, really? Okay. I like that.
That's the very short answer there.
Gotcha. Well, listen, I know this. I know they upgraded at the 3. And he also brings championship experience with him as well. And I know in Vlade's mind, that's somebody he very much wants to take a strong look at. He made this trade with the thought of extending Harrison Barnes beyond next year.
Hey, just don't get into games like 6 and 7 of a final series with him.
I'd like to get into game 6 and 7 of a final series with him.
No.
That would be
You
fine.
don't. Okay, then bench him.
Because that means we're there. Hey, can't a guy grow? Kyle?
Probably not at his age. He's 26 and he's 6'8". I doubt he's going to get to 6'9" or 6'10".
Okay. Very good.
Third down.
Do you worry about the mental state of the young Kings players?
I do. I do a
hear you.
little bit. They obviously were off their game yesterday. And I don't think if those trades aren't made, I'm not here to tell you that the Kings are going to win last night. I think they still lose to the Rockets last night, even if Shumpert and Jackson were there. But they probably lose by a lot less, and they probably don't have a, 44-17 second quarter where they just lost it. For a lot of these guys, like Fox, like Bagley, like Giles, this is the first time they've dealt with something like that. And remember, Justin Jackson and Harry Giles were in that same draft class. Remember that a lot of these guys go back to AAU together. So there are definitely some ties. And this is the first time where the whole business angle of it, where somebody, I think Shumpert is one thing, and I know a lot of these guys worshipped him. But to see a guy that you were drafted with or was drafted that's young like you in Justin Jackson gone, these guys are very close.
Mm-hmm.
So I do worry about it. But in hearing Buddy Hield and hearing De'Aaron Fox, I'm very confident in where they're at. And hearing Willie Cauley-Stein, once again, we go from a situation where I understand people being upset, players that is, I understand the emotion, but I read Willie Cauley-Stein's comments from last night. We'll get to those in the next segment. Yeah. And I worry about his mental strength, but that's nothing new.
The Kings are a step closer to a championship. Even if it's a small step, they're a step closer. And if trading Iman Shumpert and Justin Jackson is going to totally derail them, they weren't going to get there with those two guys.
No.
And so it just they're fine, though. I'm not worried about it.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth down.
Will we see a big deal done in the NBA today?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think we're done. I don't know if that big deal's anything. What, we're going to have one big deal?
Nope, 1 minute.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's going to be the Anthony Davis trade.
I don't think the Anthony Davis trade's happening.
It certainly didn't look like it. But then again, I've seen this situation before where talks have fallen off. Well, yeah, because you've got another day to negotiate. Like, wouldn't surprise me at all if the Lakers and New Orleans Pelicans re-engage. I don't know if that's going to be the deal, but I don't think the Harrison Barnes deal was the last major deal.
No.
We're going to have some movement today.
Does Marc Gasol getting traded count?
I think that's a decent. It's not a blockbuster.
I think Marc Gasol and Mike Conley both go today.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think
those are going to be the two biggest names.
That's right around the same level as a Harrison Barnes deal. That's a B level. It's not an Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving type of deal, but it's a big deal. I think we're going to have some fun today on the trading deadline. We'll take a break. When we come back, try to get to LeBron James and or Kevin Durant's comments. We have Jack Cooley calling in from Italy. It'll be fun to visit with him, and we'll ask him about going through stuff like this. He certainly knows right here on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.
This is Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings' 7-game home winning streak is over. They lost to the Rockets last night, 127-101. Buddy Hield had 20 points and 10 rebounds to lead the way for the Kings. James Harden on the other side had 36 points. It was his 28th consecutive game with 30-plus. Sacramento's off today before hosting Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat tomorrow. The Kings were also active ahead of the trade deadline yesterday with a couple of deals. The first, they were part of a 3-team trade with Houston and Cleveland that sent Amon Shumpert to the Rockets, and Alec Burks from the Cavs came to Sacramento. Later on in the evening, the Kings sent Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph to the Mavericks in exchange for forward Harrison Barnes. We'll have breakdowns of those trades and any others throughout the day right here on Sports 1140. It's 7:30. Time to get that perfect Valentine's Day gift at Sharif Jewelers. Spend $99 or more and receive a Pearl bracelet at Sharif Jewelers. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's The Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
All right, so Kyle needs to turn down his update music. Hey, Kyle, your update music. Thank you. Kyle didn't turn down his update music because he was excited. That's what I was saying to you. Your update music was still up while I was rejoining.
Oh, my, got it. Okay, got you.
That's okay. You were excited.
Yeah, I am, because I looked over and right as my update started, the phone rang.
The phone rang. Was it an Italian ring with boop, boop, boop,
yeah,
boop?
It was like raviolis.
Joining us right now.
Fettuccine Alfredo.
From Italy, where it is, I have no idea what time it is there. I'm going to guess, though, before he comes on. 7:30 now. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it's either 3 or 4:30 p.m. over there. I could be wrong. I think it's 8 or 9 hours difference, depending on daylight savings and blah-de-blah. Our good friend, the one, the only, perhaps the most popular Sacramento King ever, who played for us for just one season. And what an impact he had. Cactus Jack, the one, the only Jack Cooley. Good morning, buddy.
Hey, good morning. Or you were correct. It is 4:30. So good afternoon, as it would be here.
See, if this basketball thing doesn't work out, if you get tired of it at some point, you always have an open chair here. You could actually call in from there each day doing our morning show without having to worry about getting up in the morning. You could come in and just have yourself a beer or something, and boom, you're doing the afternoon show from Italy.
I know. I was thinking that. I'm like, man, this is way easier than before where I had to wake up crack at dawn. I don't know how you guys do it. Kyle responds to my Twitter DMs at like ridiculous hours your guys' times, and I feel bad messaging him, but he responds. So works for me.
I'm up at 4, man. I'm wide awake.
Oh my God,
it's ridiculous. Seriously, Jack, it's so ridiculous.
God bless you guys.
Jack, first off, because we have so much stuff we want to ask you, and you're still very active on Twitter. We see you all the time, and Kings fans are constantly shouting you out. That just because you are gone, you are not forgotten, and the love is certainly here for you. So on behalf of the fan base, how are you doing over there? Are you having fun? Is it a great new experience? How's Italy treating you?
It's actually going very well. I'm really enjoying it here. I mean, I'm in Italy. I'm in an island in the Mediterranean Sea. I can't really complain. I'm having a good time. The league is doing well. I'm playing the best I've played in my professional career this season. So I'm really having a good time over here. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm curious, like money aside, I know it's always, the NBA is the king of all leagues and blah, 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 but just forget about the money and the stature or anything else that goes with it. Is it kind of more fun to play over there when you're getting a lot of minutes and you're doing a lot of dominating as opposed to the NBA grind where your minutes are up and down and it's a crazy level of competition? I'm not saying it's easy over there, but as far as just pure fun of the game, is there a difference?
Absolutely. And even over here, it comes down to that question, whereas over here there are EuroLeague teams where sometimes you make more money, but you have a smaller role, or you can take less money and have a bigger role. And I always choose to I'll sometimes take the bigger role just because I love playing basketball, and that's why I do this. And so it's more fun, as you said, to be able to come over here and more visually contribute to a team on the court. And have that consistency that you message. The consistency is great because it's hard to get that in this job. So it's good to be able to come over here and know my role and be able to fulfill it.
What's the adjustment like for you moving to a new country where maybe you don't know the language, or what's just the lifestyle change like? It's obviously very different. So how do you adjust to that while also being a professional athlete?
I mean, it is tough because as you said, everything's different. I walk to the store right now and I have to just use sign language with a little Italian I know. But what's crazy is the people here are so nice that when I don't know Italian, they go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak English." And I'm like, "Well, I'm in Italy. I don't speak Italian. You shouldn't apologize to me for not knowing my language." Like, it's fine. But it is tough, and there's certain things that you don't have. But the main thing is just not being around my family. I mean, when it's the basketball season, whether I'm in a place like Sacramento where I have everything versus here where a lot of limited options, during the season I focus on just the season, just basketball, and it makes it a lot easier when you kind of can laser focus in on this and then enjoy your time during the off season a little bit more.
Jack Cooley. I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. No.
I was just going to follow up as I was rudely interrupting you. We have a tiny itsy delay here from Italy on the phones. Does it also help that you're like 7'6", 280 when you roll in there, where people kind of have there aren't? I'm guessing there aren't that many guys your size rolling into the grocery store in Italy.
No, and this town has amazing fans. So when I walk around, people recognize me. Well, what's funny is the other day we had like a photo shoot in the morning, so I did my hair up, and then after that I went to the city center and got lunch, and I don't know what the difference was, but like a ton more people were like, "Oh, that's Jack," because my hair wasn't absolutely insane when I don't like style it like I do in the games. So a lot more people walked up to me and recognized me from that, which is actually pretty funny. But yeah, it's different here because you're just huge and obviously don't fit in terms of appearance. So it's different.
Well, and I got to ask you, because the Drive official Twitter account still to this day has you as our profile pic when you say you style up your hair. Now, we remember there's the Mona Lisa painting. There's Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. One of the greatest sports photos ever was the Jack Cooley Wheaties box from last year that you took. Are you still sticking with that style, or has Italy gotten to you, and are we doing something different?
No, it's the same tried and true, the same haircut I've had since 1950. So, yeah, it's the same original hairstyle that I've had.
And I believe, before we forget, aren't congratulations in order? I remember, we still follow you on Twitter and on Instagram. I believe I remember, I think, a picture of you on a beach, beautiful girl, that whole deal. Seems like everything's going right for you these days.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, this has been a fantastic year. I mean, the girl of my dreams, I've had a crush on this girl since I was 16. And finally it's all worked out and we're engaged now, and it's just, it couldn't be any better. And I was able to find a fantastic spot to do it. And this has been a heck of a year. I really am happy.
Jack Cooley joining us on the drive.
And you mentioned yesterday that your team is moving on in the playoffs as well. How's it going on the court for you guys?
It's going really well. I mean, for me personally, as I said earlier, I was rated. They just did some big article in the newspaper. They rated me the top center in the league, and our team is doing really well. We actually had our two guard, Scott Bamford, was absolutely murdering the league. He was doing so well, and unfortunately tore his ACL on the last play of the game, and it was ridiculous. So we've been struggling a little bit recovering from that. But I'm very happy with how our team's been doing, and I'm looking forward to keep doing big things this year.
Jack Cooley on the phone with us from Italy. You remember him from the Sacramento Kings last year as well. And Jack, I'll ask you to put your NBA player analyst hat on for a second. I think you can provide insight that we can't. Big dumb sports donkeys like Kyle and I do what we can in the morning to try to make heads or tails of everything that happened last night. I know you follow along. You saw probably Iman Shumpert traded for Alec Burks, and then the big move, Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph traded for Harrison Barnes. And Harrison Barnes was told during the game. Justin Jackson was told, I believe, during warm-ups, and then he said goodbye to the team in a little players-only gathering at halftime. Is that something you ever, I don't want to say got used to, Jack, but you've been on both sides of that. Does it get any easier the more you go through it, or is it still kind of a shock when that happens?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it gets easier, but you kind of expect it. Like the second time I was waived from Utah after this, first time I was waived in training camp, second time I was waived before the preseason the next year, the assistant GM walked up and he's like, "Hey, Coach and Dennis want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Man, again?" Like I just knew it was coming, and it's not easy. I couldn't imagine doing a game when you have to. There's so many emotions. You really try to put yourself into berserk mode to play in a game, and then if anything emotional hits you, it's very difficult to handle appropriately. And kudos to Justin for how he handled that. I couldn't imagine being a second year guy and having that happen, especially with how closely knit the Kings are. That had to be tough. I mean, Iman's he's a grown man. That man can handle anything. So I'm glad that he handled it in stride. And I mean that it's a really human aspect when you see it happening live like that.
And and has spent time and played alongside De'Aaron and Harry, at least when he was recovering last year, and a lot of these guys. It's the first time I think a lot of them have gone through it, and they have ties, as we mentioned, with Justin, for example, in AAU, and I think they just worshipped Iman Shumpert. The guy had such a great effect on the locker room. But are you, knowing these guys, are you confident that, go to bed, eat a nice breakfast, and move on and kind of understand that's the nature of the game?
Yeah, what I remember from our guys is they're extremely mature. I mean, I remember last year when Malachi was traded, that shook them quite a bit. And I think that the first time it ever happens to you, it really jars you. But I think, as you said, they won't, they're their friends. So it's not like it's going to go away overnight, but it will get better and they will be able to handle it. And then I'm sure seeing these guys go have success in their new places will help with that as well. And it's just the nature of the beast. And I think that these guys, along with going on the court, have grown in the locker room in terms of learning how this business works and handling it as such.
Do you keep up with the NBA at all outside of just kind of what you see on Twitter?
To me, the NBA consists of the Sacramento Kings. That's really about all I follow, and I think it's all I need to follow, honestly. But that's really about it. I mean, I've seen the Pelicans are playing mind games with the Lakers right now, and I've taken some enjoyment out of that. But other than that, it's really just Kings.
Well, and then one thing we also spoke about was worrying about the veteran leadership with Iman leaving. We saw Vince and Garrett leave last year. And we talked about Vlade's, kind of the method behind the madness, it seems, is he wants these vets and Zach Randolph to kind of come in and teach their lessons, and then move on out. And even you last year, had the opportunity to play alongside Zach, Garrett, and Vince. Even though you're in Italy, Jack, I imagine you still pick up on and use some of the lessons those guys taught you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of ways to handle things, and I mean, a thing that Zach told me individually was to always appreciate the situation you're in and the opportunity you have, regardless of how it looks. Because I remember Zach, when we were talking about the G League, Zach goes, "I wish when I was coming up that there was somewhere for me to practice and play." And the G League, he goes, "That would have been fantastic. Instead of just sitting on the bench all the time, I wish I could have gone down and worked on the skills I learned in practice and things like that." He goes, "You need to always appreciate where you are and take advantage of it. And there's no time to have a woe is me mentality. The league works too fast." So, I mean, that's just one specific example of what Zach told me, and that probably wasn't even a big conversation for him, but it was for me. So it's just crazy how much wisdom they impart without even thinking about it. So I can't imagine the things you saw Iman help with on the outside are probably just scratching the surface of the things he did behind the scenes for those guys. So I think that they'll be fine with the lasting impression that they've learned from, as you said, Vlade did an amazing job of having this leadership in place to help these guys succeed. And now they're able to go a little bit on their own, but they still have a lot of veterans on that team with Harrison. Alec is a great veteran. I played with him in Utah. So I think that they still have people there to help, and it's going to be exciting.
You mentioned Alec Burks, and you played with him a little bit in Utah. Is he the kind of guy who's going to step in and fit into this locker room, you think, or will that be a transition that takes a little longer?
I mean, Alec personality-wise was an extremely nice guy, fantastic, a very kind person, and very caring towards his teammates. And I think that that personality gets along very well with the Kings. I mean, the Kings have probably one of the most positive locker rooms in the NBA. There's not a lot of, if any, toxicity in there. So I think Alec's going to fit in just great. And I hope he's able to get back into his consistency he was having in some of his earlier years in Utah. If he could bring that would be something else. So I think that when he gets the sack, the way that they have it set up, I think he'll be able to flourish as well.
Listen, I'm not here to call you a liar, Jack. We're friends, but you mentioned the nice locker room and no toxicity. That Jay Billis said last year it was a very toxic locker room. I'm sorry, I'm just saying. So
wait. I forgot. Jay Billis has never been wrong before. Just check his Twitter. So I mean, yeah, you gotta just know that. So
yeah, that was
shame on us.
Jack, what about you? So I know that, and I certainly don't want to in any way, shape, or form disrespect your situation in Italy, and you seem so happy, which makes us happy for you. But just from a personal level, we all out here care about you. You're going to finish this year and do what you got to do and try to win a title. Do you still, has this year changed anything for you? Do you still have one eye on the NBA? Have you thought about what you're going to do this summer? Are we going to see you back in camps, or do you wait until the end of the year to see how stuff shakes out?
I mean, that's a great question. I am very focused on winning the championship this year, and I'm excited for that. But I mean, the NBA is my dream that I always have, and to stay there consistently. But I mean, even last season, I had a couple of two-way offers, and they weren't with the Kings. And there's a lot of trust that goes into a two-way.
Sure.
And I just didn't feel that trust with some of the other teams that offered it, and it's tough because I'm going to be 28 after this season, and taking as much advantage of this career as I can while I'm young and still have that ability has to come to the forefront now. And I'll never let the NBA dream die. I mean, I might come back to Summer League. We have no idea. So as long as I said before, if there's a 1% chance that I can make it, I'm going to do the 1% chance to increase my chances of making the NBA. So I just have to see where this season goes, and if it continues the way it's continuing, we don't know what's going to happen. But my eye will always be at least cognizant of what's happening back stateside.
Would you have? It sounds like you would have taken a two-way deal if it was the Kings.
It would have been a lot tougher than it would have been was the other options. I mean, I heard some horror stories from some other teams on guys on two ways. And the Kings treated me and Jakar better than any other two-way player was treated in the entire NBA. That wasn't called up for the rest of the season, and I can't be more grateful for the opportunity that the Kings had given me last season, and how well I was treated, and it was unbelievable. And it would have been a lot harder if the Kings had made that offer. But again, I mean, I can't. They're doing fantastic, so I can't question any of the decisions that they've made. So it would have been tough though if they made the offer.
Well, and last thing for you, Jack, and not to get too personal, but I will because you're always an open book. You said something that kind of made me think. You talked about your age, and you're in no way, shape, or form old or anything, but you're starting to see things a little bit differently. You're getting married, you start a family, do all the things you want to do. How do you balance your dream of making it in the NBA against, for example, knowing that clock ain't ticking, but you can see the clock, and you have XYZ amount of years left to make as much money as you can and set your family up long term? Does that become more of a concern as the seasons progress when you make those decisions, for example, between, let's say, a ton of money in Europe, if that was offered, versus not as much in America, but NBA minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to. I bought a house this last offseason. I made choices like that. But what's funny is it's easier to make those decisions when you have after-career plans set in place. Because I had a funny conversation, actually, with Vince Carter. I texted him, and I go, hey, is it just me, or do you have more offers to join a front office than to actually play in the NBA? And he goes, yeah, man, I do. Because this last offseason, I had quite a few offers to hang up my shoes and hop on with some teams. And I'm not quite ready for that at all. I would go insane if I quit basketball right now. I still need it, and the teams understood that. But it's a lot easier making some of these decisions towards what's more for my comfort as opposed to being a mercenary when I know in the background there are things I have in motion once I'm done playing.
Is that something, though, when you're done in the future? I think that'd be awesome, that coaching or front office or both, that's something that you could see yourself doing?
Yeah, I mean, I had a broadcasting agent hit me up and asked to represent me when I'm done playing to become a broadcaster. And I had never done anything in terms of NBA. I've gone to the NBA front office training. I've gone to the NBA coaches clinic. I never did the NBA broadcasting clinic. But I had a very high-level broadcasting agent contact me and say, I want to represent you to go be a broadcaster. And I was like, okay. So it's just a lot of different opportunities, and I will definitely be heavily invested in basketball when I'm done playing. I will definitely be involved heavily in the NBA. I have fingers crossed, but I would love to continue to be a part of it and tag along to some great organization out there.
Well, and you and I have had off-air conversations, Jack. If you want to go into broadcasting, you're going to be able to go into broadcasting in a number of different ways. You're going to be able to, if you want to be a color analyst, and a lot of time color analysts have to have ties to teams, and I'm not making jokes here. You've got ties to more than a couple of teams, which will benefit you, but you also know, I mean, we've talked about this too. If you want to go into sports radio and become one of us dummies down the road, that's going to be something easy for you too. So that's interesting. You got a lot of great decisions on the horizon when it comes to playing, which is on your mind right now, GM, coaching, and broadcasting. I guess it's you're getting that's why you got engaged, man. I'm sure somebody wants to be with somebody else. You know, there's going to be a lot of options when you become an old man.
Yeah, true.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, real quick before we let you go here, what's the wine situation like in Italy?
Ooh.
Imagine. What an excellent question. I must admit, the last season and this season, I've been extremely blessed in the variety of drinks I've been able to have in these places. I mean, Italy's unbelievable. I thought I was great. I thought the wine I had when I was in Sac was going to be the best, and then I got here, and I was just blown away. It's been very, very enjoyable, responsibly enjoyable.
Of course,
responsibly enjoyable. When we talk to Jack Cooley next, we will get into the cuisine of Italy as well, which could probably be an entire show in itself. Jack, I love Twitter in the sense that for all the garbage you see there, it gives people an opportunity to stay in contact with somebody like yourself and vice versa. And I don't need to tell you the amount of love, the amount of affection, and how many people out here you touched that root for you. We're a blue-collar town. You're a blue-collar dude. And you know that you've got an entire city, an entire region behind you. And I know we're running up your minutes here, but, man, it's always nice hearing you check in, buddy. We sure do miss you.
Yeah, I mean, I miss the Kings fans again. Are still the best fans in the entire NBA, undeniable. And I miss being a part of that community. But as you said, with Twitter, I still feel like I am just cheering far away in the distance, favoriting all the tweets I can. So I'll again always be appreciative of the Kings and their fan base for everything that they did for me, and especially for you two chuckleheads as well. But Kyle knows a little bit, but I have a surprise hopefully coming for you guys. So hopefully it all works out, and you guys we can all keep our fingers crossed that works. But keep an eye out for it.
That's a tease right there. Is it the new? Is it Cooley and Pinot, the story of basketball in Italy, a 30 for 30?
Yeah. It's my signed book. It's actually the cover is made out of wine cork. Yeah, it's fantastic.
You're the best, man. We'll talk to you soon, and we love that you checked in, my man. Be good and stay healthy and kick ass over there.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you guys later.
All right, take care. That's Jack Cooley. He's such a good dude. He's such a fun guy to listen to. And in the middle of all the fun, and I know everybody loves hearing from him, I think he got a lot of really good insight into this locker room, players that he rode buses and planes with, the mental aspect of that, and so much more. He's going to be fine in broadcasting if he wants.
He's going to do all right.
What is his surprise?
I can't tell you.
Damn it. All right, when we come back. Okay, fine. When we come back, we're going to have a guest on at 8:05.
Who is it? I'm
not telling you. But he's going to be on, so how's that feel? Yeah, we're going to have a guy talk about the trade deadline from The Athletic. I'm not telling you which one. It's The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.